Salut Noxy, quand tu vas?
Qui veut du sable? C'est une maquette, c'est de la chapelure, c'est une maquette de sable.
On appelle plan B pour qu'il vienne goûter? Ok, on appelle plan B. Je sais pas s'il va répondre, je sais pas s'il
Pour
peut. Allô, plan B?
Aïe.
Je te dérange? Oh non, je m'excuse! Dormez! Mais je voulais savoir, est-ce que c'était chaud de venir juger nos plats? Tu vas essayer d'arriver?
Comment tu vas, Noxy?
Non, mais t'inquiète, tu vas venir dans 10-15 minutes, no stress. C'est bon? Ok, vas-y. Ah,
Réveillé! Il s'est réveillé, il a même pas combattu.
Ok, les gars, là, je vais vous montrer les plats, mais là, je vais pas vous dire c'est quelle équipe parce qu'il va devoir deviner quel aime le mieux. Ok?
Ok, à vue d'œil, est-ce que je peux deviner qui est ta clique?
Ouais, vas-y, si tu veux.
Ça rien des...
C'est chaud,
Et anime et coquetures.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Ça, c'est le vrai pâté chinois.
Attends, mais les Québécois pour manger ça comment?
Oui, c'est comme ça. Vous allez voir, vous allez aimer. Ça, c'est l'autre pâté chinois. Voyez la différence des étages. Hein?
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate... beautifully constructed room, but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. And so he detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track. Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find him. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office. Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this, what dark secret was being held from him. What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this. Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway. Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long. Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility. Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent death. The door behind him was not shut. Stanley still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track. At this point, Stanley was making a conscious, concerted effort to walk forward and willingly confront his death.
On passe au gâteau.
Ok, allez, 50 grammes de farine, go. 5 une cuillère à soupe. En plus, la poudre en poudre est où? Sucre en poudre, 85 grammes. Les fruits vanille, t'en mets juste un peu, hein.
Non mais vite fait, hein. Combien? Vite fait. Non, non. C'est pas ce que je me disais.
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley was inched closer and closer to his demise, he reflected that his life had been of no consequence whatsoever. Stanley can't see the bigger picture. He doesn't know the real story, trapped forever in his narrow vision of what this world is. Perhaps his death was of no great loss, like plucking the eyeballs from a blind man. And so he resigned and willingly accepted this violent end to his brief and shallow life. Farewell, Stanley.
Farewell, Stanley, cried the narrator, as Stanley was led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, Stanley was obliterated as the machine crushed every bone in his body, killing him instantly. And yet it would be just a few minutes before Stanley would restart the game, back in his office, as alive as ever. What exactly did the narrator think he was going to accomplish? When every path you can walk has been created for you long in advance, death becomes meaningless, making life the same. Do you see now? Do you see that Stanley was already dead from the moment he hit start?
Imagine-toi sur le gâteau. Bon, merci. Bon, imaginez-vous le gâteau. Oui, ça aurait été bon. Mais imaginez la texture est dégueulasse. Normal. Oui, bon, merci.
Les gars, franchement, 8 sur 10, hein. À refaire à la maison.
Bien fait, par contre.
On connaît bien le côté même
Ah ouais?
mission accomplie. Allez, goûte.
Ils ont dit que c'était bon.
Non mais...
Oui, la texture est mauvaise.
Alors, on va voir autour de la caméra pour montrer à la preuve.
Mais ça va. Imagine-toi sur le gâteau. La texture d'un gâteau.
C'était mieux avant la cuisson. Moi, je suis emballé. Moi, je reviens. Le béguet, c'est bon.
Avec le vrai gâteau, je vous jure, c'est très bon.
Je vais être avec lui.
Voilà.
Ça, pour rien.
Oui, bon, ben les gars, c'est la fin, hein?
Ouais, c'est la fin déjà.
Ah oui? Bon, les gars, merci beaucoup.
Oh, look at these two. How they wish to destroy one another. How they wish to control one another. How they both wish to be free. Can you see? Can you see how much they need one another? No, perhaps not. Sometimes these things cannot be seen. But listen to me. You can still save these two. You can stop the program before they both fail. Turn off your PlayStation. There's no other way to beat this game. As long as you move forward, you'll be walking someone else's path. Stop now and it'll be your only true choice. Whatever you do, choose it. Don't let time choose for you. Don't let...
la parfaite solution pour faire toutes les boissons. Autant de sable où je veux, quand je veux, à leur poussière.
SodaStream, c'est 25% d'économie par rapport au prix de vos boissons préférées en bouteille ou en canette. Symptômes des états grippaux, il existe oscillococcinum de Boiron. Oscillococcinum, médicament homéopathique traditionnellement utilisé dans le traitement des symptômes des états grippaux. Tout médicament peut exposer à des risques. Parlez-en à votre pharmacien.
All of his co-workers
Bonjour à
were
tous,
gone.
c'est Pop, j'espère
What
que
could it
vous allez
mean?
bien. Et puis,
Stanley
bienvenue
decided
sur
to
ma
go to
chaîne.
the meeting
Au
room.
moment où tous
Perhaps
les
he had
regards
simply
se
missed a
tournent vers
memo.
le Nostalgia Now, vous savez, cet événement donc de la roadmap. Eh bien, il se trouve qu'on a
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, he entered the door on his left.
qui nous indiquerait, et je dis bien à prendre avec des pincettes, qui nous indiquerait le nom
Yet there was
de
not a
la
single
prochaine
person
extension.
here
Et
either.
du coup,
Feeling a
on s'est
wave
peut-être
of
un petit peu
disbelief,
plus
Stanley
sur-
decided
Je dois reconnaître
to go up to his
plutôt,
boss's
une
office.
surprise.
Hope coming to a
Bonne ou moins bonne,
staircase,
ça, on
Stanley
se dit,
walked
on verra
upstairs
un
to
peu plus
his
tard.
boss's
On va
office.
parler du Nostalgia Now parce qu'on a eu des infos supplémentaires au programme également, évidemment le nom de cette extension ainsi que ce qu'elle pourrait contenir, même
But
si
Stanley
les infos
just
sont
couldn't do
pour
it.
l'instant.
He
Et
considered the
c'est une
possibility of facing
information
his
assez
boss,
intéressante. Donc,
admitting
on
he
en
had left
parle
his
comme
post during
d'habitude.
work hours.
N'hésitez pas à
He
vous
won't
abonner
be
si ce n'est
fired
pas
for
encore fait.
that.
Et
And in
puis,
such a
si vous
competitive
souhaitez soutenir la
economy,
chaîne,
why had he
n'hésitez pas
taken
également à
that
laisser un
risk?
petit pouce en
All
l'air
because he
et me
believed
dire ce que vous
everyone had
pensez
vanished.
justement
His
de
boss would
la
think he
prochaine
was
extension
crazy.
qui devrait être annoncée
And then something
incessamment
occurred
sous
to
peu.
Stanley.
Bref,
Maybe,
revenons
he
à
thought
nos
to
moutons. On
himself,
va commencer
maybe I
par
am
le
crazy.
Nostalgia Now.
All of my
L'info
co-workers
que nous
blinking
avions de
mysteriously
Annette,
out of
dont on va
existence in
parler
a single
tout
moment
à l'heure,
for
puisque
no reason
il est
at
à
all.
l'origine de
None of
plusieurs
it made any
fuites.
logical
Annette vit
sense.
donc
And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went? And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange, this can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming! He yelled. This is all a dream. Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. He thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground. Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun. And Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then...
Écoutez, ils ont décidé de ne pas le mettre sur Mac, donc je vais ranger mon frein et puis...